Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining the podcast. Today we have with us one of my former coaches, the hugely knowledgeable and successful James Gibson MBE. James is probably now best known for his coaching success in the swimming world. However, he has some incredible achievements to his name as a hugely talented swimmer himself. Being on the British and English team for many years, he became Commonwealth, European and World Champion in the 50 metres breaststroke and was also 6th in the Athens Olympic Games in the 100 metres breaststroke. Following his success as an athlete, his focus was turned to coaching, where he's coached out in Marseille, he's coached here in Britain as the national sprint coach, and now heads up the Energy Standard team out in Turkey, where he's heavily involved with the setup of the new International Swimming League. He's guided swimmers to world titles and Olympic medals, but today we talk to him about the injury that took a hold on his career and how that influences his coaching style now, how the psychological element to coaching is just as important as the physical, what the aims of the ISL are for the future, and how life and training on the other side of lockdown will look for his athletes. Thanks for listening today, guys. We really hope you enjoy the conversation.
Okay, so hi James, welcome. Thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate you being here. How are you keeping?
Hey guys, hey Joe, hey mate. Yeah, good mate, solid. Well, as good as can be in this current situation. Just itching to get back going. Hopefully, I should be reopening the program within the next week or two. So, with the UK government today, have announced that these special air corridors can start. It's all looking a bit more positive, let's say.
Yeah, good. And you're safe and well, healthy, all of that stuff.
Yes, yeah. Touch wood, everything is good. Been wearing my masks to the shops, gloves and everything, and taking all the necessary precautions that we should be doing.
Oh, good stuff. So James, we know you firstly from being an athlete yourself, being on and around teams with yourself as an athlete. Obviously then your journey into coaching, and you were one of my coaches as well after Olympic. So, can you give us a little bit of background on your journey? So whether it's kind of from being an athlete into a coach or through your coaching journey, give us a bit of background on yourself.
Okay. Well, I keep it brief. I like to talk about more what I'm doing now than what I've done in the past. So I'm starting to realise now that there's plenty of people in the world don't really understand that I used to be a swimmer. So it just shows my age. I had an athlete I'm trying to recruit at the minute asked me if I had any experience in breaststroke the other day. It's quite interesting for me. I was a former Great Britain international swimmer. I swam for Great Britain for 10 years. I was a world champion, European champion, Commonwealth champion. I won quite a few medals in my former life. I then finished my career in swimming due to quite a nasty back injury. And so my lessons I learned through sort of the lack of pre-pool or lack of self-management that I did in my own career, I now sort of have transferred quite nicely into my coaching career, because that ultimately cost me dearly in the end, any sort of chance of racing at the London 2012 Olympics. I finished swimming in 2009, transitioned to coaching more as assistant coach in 2010, and then I had my own group from 2011, 2012 based in Marseille in the south of France. I was a national performance coach there, centre coach in France, and I moved over to Britain in 2012 where I worked with yourself, Amy. We were started off as a national sprint program. We're all supposed to be based in London, but due to a significant lack of finance and funds, that got shelved pretty early. So we stayed in the beautiful Loughborough, where we were from 2012 to 2016. In 2016, I left my role as a national centre coach in Britain to take on a very radical challenge in setting up my task was to set up the best swimming club in the world within 4 years, achieve that within 2, and then have a big leadership role in the International Swimming League, which has always been the long-term project of my employer, Konstantin Grigorishin, who is the chairman and sort of the brainchild, as we say, behind the ISL.
Yeah, wow. So you've had quite a career, and like you say, that you achieved what you aim to do in 4 years with your new team Energy Standard now in 2. So your coaching career has taken off incredibly. But you did mention in there, as an athlete, the end of your career was kind of tainted with injury. You had quite a significant back injury. I know how that feels. But I mean, you say this was an influencing factor on your retirement, and that it does affect what you do now. Can you tell us a little bit about your injury, and how that kind of affected you mentally, maybe coming into what ended up making you retire, it sounds like, and what exactly that does change with your coaching philosophies now?
Okay, so I'd call it, I was a dinosaur. I was one of the last dinosaur swimmers where, in terms of athletes, self-management, where you train, get injured, lay on a physio bed, get fixed, then go back. There was none of this notion of self-management. Self-management was seen as you're the physiotherapist, you're paid to treat me. That's the style of thinking, and it was true. We didn't. That was our generation. You didn't really understand, so you'd work to a point where you'd break down, and then you'd spend time with the physio to get fixed and get back again. There was no structured sort of self-management programs. There was no education programs around core, Pilates, yoga, which I know now they start at a very young age, because you need to. That swimming is brutal for the body. Yes, we keep fit, but it is a very hard sport on the body. And if you don't look after yourself, you can cut your career short. Yeah, I guess I retired when I was 29, so I had a very good career. But I still live with back issues. Let's not call it back issues, sciatic issues, leg. It's all in the leg. It's feeling in the leg. I just wish at the time I would have been taught how to release myself, look after myself a bit better. Also the value of Pilates. As one story that I've got with my coaching, actually, was I was watching my group. I was in the Cayman Islands watching my group do circuit training, and one of them was a guy called Liam Tancock, who's big, heavy guy, 90 kilos, strong, and he's just I was watching him do circuits, and it suddenly dawned on me. I'm watching him, and I was like, I'm making this guy worse. I'm making him worse. He can't do the technique. He looks terrible. He's exhausted. He's got absolutely no benefit to making him better. And then he come to training and be terrible because he was so beaten up from this circuit. So I sat down with the team I was working with. And I was like, guys, we're actually hurting these young adults. We're not making them better. And the physio turned around and looked at me and was like, I've been trying to tell you this. But you've got to have your own experience. And I was watching the guys, and not one of them was getting any better from circuits. If anything, they were getting more fatigue. Their injury risk was huge. If you're young, if you're 18 to 21 or whatever in a young university program, you can deal with boxing and jumping up and down and team rah-rah and organized fun, I call it. But when you're older and you're a professional and you've had a few years, you've got to be really smart and you've got to look after yourself. So we ditched the circuit sessions and replaced them with Pilates, reformer, stuff with real purpose. And explain to the athletes, this has real purpose. This will make you better because you're going to be more robust for your swimming work. And almost for the rest of the year, we had no injuries as a group of 6 or 7 athletes, which was just phenomenal. So I realized as a coach, we can damage athletes. We can damage people's career. We have to look after the athletes. And that was a big key learning thing for me from my own injury experience, to watching then what I was doing, what I considered the norm. But now honestly, my program's quite boring. We do Pilates, we do injury prevention. It's not all singing, all dancing. If someone comes to my program now expecting this radical, Energy Standard, do it differently, whatever, you'll see great swimmers doing the basics, but doing the basics better than anyone else. That's how honestly I believe now over time, that's how you get great performance, because good swimmers are good swimmers. They're good. Like you two guys went to the Olympics because you're good swimmers. You won international medals because you're a good athlete. And, you know, us as a coach, we have to look after those people and have good guidance. And that's why with Energy Stand, honestly, we have good injury prevention. We do basic technique. We even do not so, you know, some of our sessions are not the most interesting in the world, but they have purpose and they're functional. Because I believe you give people the right environment, the right sort of, you know, the right education, their talent will just let them take over.
Definitely. I mean, like you
So
said,
that's
education.
a little bit of my insight.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yes.
definitely. I mean, I totally agree. And I think we were probably not far behind you like you said, you called yourself a dinosaur, but we're probably not far behind you coming onto the team and in that, therefore, educational system that we're being brought into. But I feel like it's grown massively since us as well, because like you were saying, it's the Pilates, the core work, the little things that are actually really poignant in your training to protect your body. But it doesn't feel when you're doing it, obviously it will be hard, but in a very different way to what those circuits were. And I think back then, in a lot of athletes' heads, if you're not sweating and panting and like working crazy hard, it's not hard enough. It's not doing it right. It's not doing anything. And I feel like that's where it's hard to get that shift. It's getting loads better now, but it's hard to get that shift in athletes' heads to think, these little movements, these tiny little bits where you're not getting out of breath, but you're activating the right parts of your body to protect them, are what you need to be doing for the best result. And I think it is, like you say, it's an educational shift, isn't it, that needs to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Amy, the education is spot on because, you know, everyone has a different personality. Like some people will come in and if there's a pre-pull circuit set up, they do it and they don't question it, and because they know they have to. Where others will come in and go, I don't want to do this because it's boring. And you know what I've learned as well from coaching, you have to deal with different people and different personalities. So what some person puts value on, another just won't. So for some people in the morning at 6 o'clock, the last thing they want to do is pre-pull because they don't understand the value in it. But so what we try and do is we educate the guys, like, you know, and you have to provide the environment. You just don't do the session because you're supposed to do it. Actually, the role of the coach is to educate the athlete, talk to the athlete, explain why. Like we've got these new massage guns. Have you seen the new guns? I mean, I bought one. I wake up in the morning, I can't move, so I get this thing on my back and get released my pressure points where the physio told me I can. That's fantastic. I can move for the day. So we provide an environment where, you know, we have equipment and tools. We show them. We sit down with a group. It's a very social way of doing pre-pull. But then some people want structure and they want a circuit that they can get, you know, they dial their head into it and they can go around, and we provide that also. So we don't try and do it as a one-way fits all, because that doesn't work, because you assume that you're dealing with everyone is a robot and you're dealing with exactly the same person. And so we don't do that anymore. It's like one person might want a circuit, one person might want to, you know, one day you might have someone like a floral manager say, guys, I just don't want to do this today. Can I do it after the workout? No problem. But it's just about finding what fits that individual and not just saying you should do this because you're supposed to. And then you get fantastic results when the athlete actually understands. And then they come to you and say, can we do more Pilates? Can we do more pre-pull? And that's the shift, I think, is go away from the dictatorial coaching and methods whereby you should do this because you have to more, we suggest you do this. Come on, let's figure this out together in partnership. And like, you're the athlete, you're in charge of your career. So let's do this around what you feel is appropriate. And that's kind of, I've seen that. That's more how I've evolved.
Definitely, it's facilitated ownership, isn't it? I think.
I think
absolutely.
As you just mentioned there, James, like swimming is probably quite a dictated sport, and because the majority of swimming is age group, it's sort of, you know, coach tells the athlete what to do, they just go ahead and do that. And I feel like sometimes swimming is guilty of carrying that on into senior squads as well, that they still work in that same mentality. Athletes just come in, do the circuit, do this swimming, and they leave without really getting a very good understanding of it. Maybe that's changing these days. That's definitely how I felt looking around when I was still competing. And I think the later it goes, the older the athlete gets, the more they take ownership of it, the more they want to invest in those small areas. I mean, your program now is completely different to most people's. There's not very many groups that's got an international setup quite in the same way yourself. Obviously, lots of programs are going to have international athletes in, but one that's entirely built just on athletes from all over. Like you said, your best group in the world on the results and things, and the list of names in your squad is quite phenomenal. How many athletes are in your squad, and how do you manage to get it so individual? Is it a large group, small group?
No, well, it's just that honestly, it's about time, and we're lucky where we're based. We have time. So
Right.
this might sound a bit strange, but we didn't do any recruiting we didn't actively for my full-time group in Turkey. Yes, I have an ISL squad that's 32 athletes. That involves sort of 50% of my full-time group, and I've had to recruit extras who've just come in for the meets, extra swimmers. Yes, they're energy standard swimmers, but they're calling them part-time athletes. But my full-time group, I have 14. But what we had to do was, when we set up the project, I wasn't actually allowed to aggressively recruit, because the idea was that the ISL is the end result of energy standards. So the ISL, to create the league, to create 10 professional teams. So the first thing you do is I could have recruited, it's just imagine if I go into someone's group and speak to the best swimmer and say, come swimming with me in Turkey. I can offer you a salary. I can offer you the best swimming pool in the world, great coaching, best facilities. You don't have to pay for your food or lodging. Everyone's going to think
Sign me up, yeah.
And then, but the quickest way to annoy the coaching community or the swimming community is to start taking the swimmers away from people. So we made a conscious decision not to actively recruit, but we would speak to people that were interested in coming out. So, first off, we got, so we were quite lucky that Georgia Davis so I started off, it's just quick, I'll go back. So I started off Energy Standard. The club always existed from 2012. It was Ukrainian, Russian athletes only, really. There was like 80 athletes, and they had their setups in Moscow and Kiev and all over kind of sort of the former Soviet bloc, but mainly Ukraine and Russia. So I centralized a core group. And I only started off with 4 junior Ukrainian swimmers. That's it. I still have one left, Sergei Shevtsov. He made the final of the world champs at 100 free. He's a 48-2 guy. Wow. But he's stayed with us all the way through. But what we did was, we had to get the results to attract people. So, Georgia Davis and Ben Proud were looking for programs post Rio Olympics. They came out to have a look, and they were sold straight away. They wanted to work with us. Then Chad Leclos was looking for a program, and quite quickly, it's in Budapest. We won 12 medals, I think, and Sarah Sjostrom came out for a camp quite early. We won 12 medals in Budapest, and then you start getting a bit of momentum. Then we get more and more people. So then it just kind of just steamrolled from there, really. And even today, we're now very fortunate, we get so many requests that we even have to turn quite a few away. And it's more from the fact of us, we recruited properly. We've got the community saw that we weren't aggressive in our nature. And therefore now we got more credibility, Joe, to be honest. And I think it's a nice way of working.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Like you say, it has grown really quickly. And I've got to say, when I was watching the ISL League last year, and especially that final in Vegas, I was, for the first time, I think, pretty jealous of the guys that were still competing. And we spoke, like you said, just Georgia Davis. We spoke to her on the podcast a few weeks back, and she was saying how it essentially saved the end of her career after the Rio Olympics. She was sort of ready to hang it up, thought she had done everything she could do, and then you'd invited her out to go and look at the program in Turkey, and it just gave her a new lease on life. And what I found phenomenal is that she's got faster over these next 4 years. She's consistently got better and better and won international medals still. So it just shows that swimmers were kind of stopping, to my mind, maybe earlier very often than they were physically able to. They were just either mentally burnt out or financially burnt out, or whatever reason it was. It wasn't just a physical thing that was making them stop. So I feel like this ISL League and Energy Standard in particular are giving athletes like Georgia, like Chad Leclos, all the other guys you mentioned. Florent Manadou's come out of retirement. Is that right? So like join the team, yeah. I mean, that's just fantastic for the sport as a whole. Like, it's something I'm really excited to watch and see how it continues to develop. What do you foresee happening with the future with the league? Is it going to continue? Obviously, everything's in lockdown and nobody knows exactly what's going to go on. But what were the plans, and what is there any contingency plans being put in place now as to how it's going to develop?
Well, just first part of your question is about you said emotional stress financially, being burnt out financially, physically, psychologically.
Yeah,
that is true for 99.9% of athletes. This is the one thing that people miss. Like, it's a grind. Like, say you guys swam for Great Britain for years. You went to the Olympics. I also won great amount of medals, but it's a grind still. And there's only this very, very 0.1% few people receive a decent income. I'd say even most British swimmers scrap around for their lottery funding to be on program, and now it's only like 15, 16 swimmers, and that's it. That's the main thing. Yeah. And also athletics, and there's so much competition in Britain now. People are making less money than ever in Olympic sports. So Constantini, he recognises that he's a passionate swimming fan, and the first thing is that these superhumans deserve better, and that's kind of also attracted me to the ISL project, in that he wants to set up. His vision is investment, make the sport commercial. We have to change swimming because it's clear now the old way is not working. We don't see, like I say, 99.9% of people struggle financially. It's a grind, and actually leave the sport quite disappointed. There's no way that some Olympic champions or world champions or Olympians should walk away from a sport financially crippled and also emotionally crippled. There's no way that should happen. Yeah. So his ideas like insurance programs for athletes, athlete representation in front of world governing bodies to get more money out of them, because the world governing bodies, they don't, to an extent, they don't share a big proportion of their revenue with the actual people that put on the show. Yeah. And so this is where ISL is different, where it's like at least half or at the minute it's 100%. He's fortunately that he sponsors everything at the minute, so there is no real huge revenue or sponsorship, but that will come, and that's directly going to be shared like hugely with the athletes. Bigger than anything has been done before. So there's going to be, with ISL, even this year, the plan for this year was to have 27 matches. They're called matches. But we've got to change the terminology of swimming. People don't watch swimming. People are not interested in swimming. We've got to do something. It's got to be. We need the community to think out the box.
What's wrong with your gala?
This year we had
like a gala.
Go to the back.
It's not a gala, mate. So 27 matches we had planned this year, but that each team was going to compete in 10 times. So the whole league was going to be 27 matches in total. Each team competes 10 times and a grand final. Obviously, COVID cancelled the lot. So now we've developed a solidarity program where every swimmer that signed up for ISL this year will receive a $15,000 grant for the whole year. So that's so if you guys had signed up for say London Raw, you would still receive $15,000 each to support you through the next year in this difficult time.
Yeah.
But we're looking to do a training camp. It's called Solidarity. Training camp's the wrong word. Solidarity camp somewhere when we can, when it's safe, and it'll involve all 10 teams, same location in the world, and there'll be prize money. There'll be 4 meets that you have to do each team within that period, in a bubble, in a quarantine bubble somewhere. Prize money, everything, the league. So it's kind of like a solidarity camp, and we're looking to do a grand final in December as well.
Oh wow! I mean, like you say, there was planned to be 27 matches, galas, and and obviously this year was going to be Olympic year, Paralympic year as well. So with that, how did you foresee it fitting around, those major competitions that we're already on? Kind of, do you see it impacting those in any way, or do you see it aiding those, or how do you see that mixing and matching?
Well, it was going to be after. It was going to be after Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is, well, now the calendar is jammed. There's this backlog of events. I think if you're a medal winning swimmer now, you could win so many medals in the next year and a half, 2 years, because there's world short course, European short course, 2 lots of world champs, Olympics, there's ISL, there's everything. FINA Champion Series, FINA World Cup. If you want, you can race every 2 or 3 days if you can handle that. But how it is yes, the calendar has to be harmonised. At the minute, there is no calendar. There's only Tokyo and Europeans on the agenda next year. But I think there's going to come a point where there may be some clashes in the future. There may be, but I think it's just the way natural sports develop, and it'll be up to the individual athletes how they decide to work and how they want to do things. I think with ISL, there's definitely an element of financial independence for the athletes, so they might not necessarily be so dependent on their small grant from the lottery to survive. It's a bit different when like we're talking solidarity grant. All the numbers are on the internet. It's $15,000 per athlete, and then you win prize money when you're there. It's you're kind of in charge of your own sort of destiny when you start doing this sort of thing. And I think a lot of athletes actually crave that. They crave that, and they can make their own decisions on where they like their careers to go. And if they've got chances to train with professional groups or experiment with new things, I think we'll see a lot more of that in the future. I think we'll see more athletes moving around from program to program. I think it's just a general. We need to evolve as a sport, and there'll be less of this coach owning an athlete per se. It'll be more a bit like this old school understanding that the athlete is a property of the coach, which doesn't work. It's more that the athletes will kind of find their own sort of journey, and the coaches will really help facilitate them on their way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like it's a great thing to have started, and like you say, with an aim of increasing the awareness of swimming within the general public, so that it does get attention that I feel like it deserves as a sport as well. Like you've said, you are dealing with people from all around the world, swimmers, coaches, other team members and staff. And I know that you feel that education is also an important part alongside swimming, because you've got your own degree in international relations as well. And I've seen also recently Sarah Sjostrom is partway through a PT qualification, isn't she? So she's still doing that alongside her training and everything as well. Do you feel like your degree in international relations has helped you with what you're doing now and your role now?
I think first and foremost, for me, swimming, you're going to be an athlete for a period of your life. That's not your life. And I think that's one thing I try and explain to my guys, that you've got to make the most of each situation. So, even the guys that the real sort of say Chads and Sarahs, Flo, Pernille Blooms of the world that are busy doing that. They've got lots of sponsors, commercial things. They've got to maximise it. Long gone are the days where the swimmers are told by the coaches not to do this, not to do that. But I think you just end up having conflict with them. And education is critical as well. And we haven't got too many younger athletes in our program. I think it's all about choices. And if there's some exceptional younger talent coming through, and it depends where they come from, and they've made the right choices with their education, it can work. But I think when you're setting up a professional league, it's a difficult balance to get, because our objective for the league is, let's be honest, it's commercial. It's to make money. That's the idea. So as a league, the idea is to generate revenue, is to generate income. Social responsibility is really, around education, and it has to be taken into account, but that's got to be the athlete's sort of own decision making, because we're there to promote the league, to promote the masses. If the athletes want to be part of it, they've got choices. Like, I know that a lot of swimmers have turned down ISL because they've got education commitments and that, which that's great that they're also taking ownership of their lives and their careers, but at least it's their decision. Sometimes they're not being. We don't put people in boxes, but it's their choice. If you want to be part of it, it's great. This is your earning potential. If you don't, if you want to do that, there's these great alternatives. Loughborough University are now got awesome group of swimmers coming in, international ones, because they want to carry on their education and they want to, so they can also get good balance with everything else. But I think it has to be. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to get right. Because if you take example the Premier League, there's the Premier Football League. It's revenue. La Liga in Spain, revenue. Champions League is revenue driven, and it all comes down to an individual decision made by that athlete.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, everyone's different. Athletes aren't robots. I think we mentioned that when we were speaking with Kev last week as well. And obviously within your group, you've got 14 athletes who are all at a very high level, all with some incredible goals that they're aiming towards for themselves. Everyone's very individual, with some big personalities in there as well. And compared to, say, some age group squads, that is quite a small number to have. I mean, when I was training with you that first year, there was 4 of us in the squad, which is a tiny squad. Mm-hmm. And you've got to kind of manage people, personalities, training types, your coach-athlete relationship with them. How do you manage that in like the group that you have, where because of where they're aiming at, the demands of the coach, of the training, are going to be so high and everyone's going to be different? How do you manage that and build that team? Sorry, quite.
Well, first off, no, it's a good one. It's a good one. Well, first off, it starts with your staff and support staff around the athletes. Like, we've got we have an awesome coaching group. I call it a team because, yes, I'm the figurehead, I guess, per se, but I have 4 other coaches that we will all work on the program together, that each play equally the same sort of role as myself. So I've got Tom Rushton, Delano Silva, and as on deck, and plus Petro Nahorny. So Petro is our distance coach. He works mainly with Mikhail Romanchuk. So, and also what I learned is that you keep out the way as well. As a head coach, you've got to keep out the way, because like working with the distance guys, I can, everyone follows my periodization meets and everything, but sometimes you're better off just letting the experts go with it. So Petro is so passionate about the distance work, and he loves it, and he's so into it in every aspect. Whereas I'm more sprint based, and I believe as a coach, we've been told down the years that you need to do this, you need to venture out, and you need to be able to do everything. But I don't believe that. I believe what feels right for you, that's your fit. And Ian Armigate always would talk about fit. And if you're trying to be something you're not, if distance coaching is not your passion, you're never going to do a great job of it. And equally, if sprint coaching is not your passion, and like that's not you, you're never going to be a great sprint. You're never going to work with great sprint athletes. Russ Barber always said, like, you know what you get with me. You're going to come here and you're going to work hard. You don't go to Russ if you want to do easy Jan Albrecht style lactate 1 work. You don't go to Russ. So it's about, as a coach, I think I've got lots of different personalities within my team. So Petro can do the distance work, and they swim every day. They don't have a day off. They swim 13 sessions a week. Wow. And they swim. And he's good, and it's science driven, and it's good. Tom, middle distance, science based, very different style to me, incredibly different coach to what I am. And I sometimes, I know we have to do the work and we have to do the nitty gritty, but Tom makes me, that's his bread and butter. He's like, we got to do this, James. If we don't do this, we're not going to get the results, and this is why. And so Tom, from that point of view, Delano, technically brilliant as well. So I've got a team around me that plug all the gaps that the group need, and also the athletes. You know, that they can almost choose who they can connect with, because it, you know, for me, for some athletes, it doesn't feel right. They don't want to hear this sort of arty style, and they don't want to work on their technique every minute. They just want to get on with stuff. And so you connect them with a coach that suits them. And the coaches go around the group. So it's not like, you know, Delano or Tom are not working with Florent or Sarah. It's like everyone is in. You know, it's very like everyone's there to add value and help the athlete. James, I've seen something wrong with that technique. We'll take her off and go and teach her how to do it. So letting everyone sort of have a role in the program. Also, Marco Cosso, our strength coach, he's grown up with the program. You know, he's grown every year. He's now strength coach at Ben Proud, Sarah, Chad, Florent Manadou. We had Marco at the right time of his career, where he was young enough and he wanted to learn and he was hungry, and he just gives every hour he can to the program. And he's just for swimming. It's not like he's got to share him with other sports or like what a lot of strength coaches do. He's just there. He's on deck, so he understands the program. So he's grown up with the program. And massage therapists, having great physiotherapists and is unrealistic for budget. So we have amazing consultants. We have a guy called Enzo Iadici from Italy. 20, 30 years of swimming experience, just caught in the hands of God. We've got Ian Rollo from Gatorade that works on our nutrition program, and Rich Hampson, who used to be the head psychologist of British.
I feel like Ian Rollo.
He was the head psychologist
at Loughborough with Gatorade.
Yeah, still working with Ian Rollo. Rich Hampson, who's the head of British Cycling Psychology, is our consultant. So great consultants to plug the gaps as well.
That's nice.
So get the team around the athletes.
You're going, James. Sorry.
So I've got the team around the athletes, and the instruction is simple. We have to keep learning, because we have to know more than the athlete to build them up. Because as soon as the athlete is kind of knows more than us, then we're no longer developing them. So that's our strategy, to put everything around the athlete, keep upskilling us as staff, and then to keep driving the program forward. An open challenge from the staff, like the staff just speak openly. I'm quite a laid back guy. I'm not like trying to teach everyone from different cultures that feedback, you know, even if it's negative, is not a bad thing. It's not personal. That was difficult. Take everything to heart. But I'm happy with where my staff are, and they drive the program. You know, it's a unit that drives it forward. It's not one person shouldering the everything of all the responsibility, because you couldn't do it. And like I say, I'll give you an example. This week, I'm writing all the workouts for people Monday, Tuesday. Tom takes over Wednesday, Thursday. Delano does Friday, Saturday, and that's for everyone in the program. So we share a lot of the burden.
Yeah, so everyone sees the athlete at the front of, you know, those performances, but really there's a huge team behind them that's got them there. And I think sometimes what people like, you know, that aren't in that environment forget or don't realise all the time. So it's really important to recognise that. And what I really liked actually is that you'd said about your strength coach, was it Mark?
Marco,
sorry. You said you got him at a good time when he was young and he was still learning. And I feel like that is an opportunity that sometimes gets taken away as in a role such as S&C, because everyone wants experience. Everyone always wants you to have worked with a sport for 5 years and then a different place for 5 years, for you to bring that to this new sport. But actually, you found it really beneficial having someone that's fresh and open-eyed and new and ready to learn. So I like that about you know, having that in the team as well.
You find it quite difficult, James, that the guys that were coming to you as athletes were already really established for the most part. When Sarah comes to you, or Georgia Davis or Chad Leclos, they've already got like I don't know. They've already got an enormous amount of accomplishments behind them. So like you just said there about trying to keep your knowledge ahead of those athletes, that's got to be really difficult because they've got obviously already had long careers. They know what works well for them already before they come to you. How do you then stay that much further ahead of them? And is it a case of being honest and open and saying, I don't know this area, but I'm going to look into what you're asking me at certain points? Does that ever have to happen?
Oh yeah, Joe, you've got to be authentic. And
Yeah.
like you said, the thing is with experienced athletes, you can't pull the wool over their eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't fluff it. It's impossible. And if you try, and I say this to all the staff, if you try to pretend, they know.
Yeah.
You know? But a lot of my learning, honestly, comes from them as well. Like I say upskilling, like the fact that when you sit down and they've all got different stories, like how they've reached the top. One of the best things I ever do with my athletes when they first arrive, I like just listen to their story, how they become Olympic champion, and some of them are just amazing. Like Pernille essentially coached herself. You know, she was nowhere 6 months before the Olympics. You know, and then she won. And then you listen to her story; it's incredible flow. You know, Chad, and so the challenges about to overcome. But you're right. There's nothing wrong also with saying like I want to take some time to have a little read around this subject, or if someone comes up to me, oh, JJ, I'm good at this intermittent fasting. Well, hang on, hold down, and let's speak to the experts. Let's speak to Ian Rollo. Let's find out. Oh, I saw this program. I saw the Game Changers. I'm going to be vegan, or whatever. It's okay. I don't know anything about this, but there's nothing wrong with just that little acknowledgement that let's take some time. Let's speak to an expert, or I need a bit of time. And I think the athletes actually like that, rather than because you don't ever dismiss their ideas. Never, because like you guys know, as athletes, I've got this. You come to the coach. You've thought about it. You've sat at home. You've thought about it, and you're thinking this, and I might want to change a bit. So even if it's something absurd, you've got to value their, because it's their career and they've brought it to you and they think it's important. Yeah. So what we'll do is if there's anything challenging or if it's something new, we'll just we'll consult with someone that knows exactly what they're talking about. If it's someone said I want to try Jan Albrecht style training, I'll give Jan a call. Like I know all about that. We did it with Liam Tancock. Blew my mind away, swimming 3K easy every session, and then having the best back end 50 at the World Championships out of anyone in the race. It doesn't make any sense to me. Still, I won't be honest. There's so much anaerobic power, so we had to detrain that so he could access his aerobic capacity. And then Liam finished off his second 50 faster than anyone else in 2015, which is again. Okay, I'm open-minded, but that one got me.
I guess. Yeah, well, I mean, that's where you need the experts around, like within, say, sports science. And
exactly.
For sure. I mean, I'm conscious that you've got another meeting to get to after speaking with us. But so finally, and I know I'm going to like this answer because we're obviously all about technique as well, and I know that that's a big thing for you. But now lockdown is hopefully starting to ease and you'll gradually be able to get your athletes back in the water. I know that with athletes from all over the world, that's kind of happening at a different rate for each of them. But what are your thoughts kind of as to how you're going to ease them back in? What will you be doing? And obviously there's the psychological aspect as well to that, not just the training aspect.
Yeah, I was going to lead on that, Amy. Was the biggest danger we have now is psychological burnout, and so there's people at home. The Brits have been the worst, pretty much the worst. And I say the worst, that's the wrong call. They've been stuck at home the longest out of any nation that I work with. And then you've got two types of dangers now. You've got the guys that have been training all the way through that are feeling quite burnt out because they've had nothing to train for. And they've been going for 12, 13 weeks now, all on their own. Or like, imagine every session on your own, a coach sends a workout. So they're quite burnt out psychologically. You've then got the guys that they're desperate to get back in, and they're going to get back in and try and smash themselves straight away because they feel like they've got to play catch up. So what I'm going to do with my guys is, it's a slow, steady build. Regardless where you are at in your training. First off, we get them all back together. You've got to create you've almost got to create this whole, a little bit of a buzz around what you're doing, a little bit of excitement, but not going too far, that it's the emotional, that the energy's gone too high. You've got to pull back. The people that are too eager, I'll be pulling back, saying calm down, because you could do yourself an injury. That's the biggest danger. They'll get back in, they'll just try and kill themselves within a week. I've got to catch up 13 weeks. I'm miles behind. Then you're actually out the water even longer because you've popped your shoulder or something. So it will be a very slow build throughout July and August. We will then take a 2-week holiday in August. Everyone said you're crazy, but there needs to be a psychological finish to 2020. There needs to be that shutdown off. The staff, swimmer, everyone. Because like Georgia Davis, giving an example, was at home for 10, 12 weeks every day, trying to do a dryland workout on her own, on a bike. And then she'll be in Loughborough. So she'll be, yes, so physically, yes, she's not that tired. But psychologically, that's huge. The Olympics has been cancelled. ISL has been cancelled. Everything you've known is just been thrown out the window. And you've been left to fend for yourself. And there needs to be a finish. And then, so I've said 1st of September, I want you fresh mind, fresh body, fresh soul. That's how you're going to win the Olympics. That's how you're going to do a great effort in ISL. That's the only way it'll work. If you arrive tired in any of these areas, you're going to carry that the whole year, and you're less likely to be successful. So that's my goal. I only have one goal. First, that's it for now. 1st of September, you arrive and you're ready. You're fresh and you're ready. But in terms of technique, we'll be building that straight away. I won't be messing around with that. No bad habits to start with, please.
Yeah, just do the basics right, like you say.
Absolutely.
That's your foundation.
Straight away, session one, we'll be doing technique work. Absolutely.
Sounds good. I kind of want to get back in with them.
Yeah. You'll be taking that same break, James? Well, because I can imagine coaches are probably stressing more than some of the athletes. Would you recommend to other coaches to take that solid break so that you come back and they come back ready for September, fresh, like you were just talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're still there, you're still writing workouts, you're trying to think, you're still contacting the athletes non-stop, you're still working with the support team. Like I'll give you an example, Marco's been stuck in Turkey he's been there all the way through. He's been there 14 weeks on his own in his apartment because he couldn't get home to Sardinia. And he's kind of been waiting there for us to go back. I keep telling him, we're definitely coming back in the middle of June. Oh no, definitely the end of June. But now definitely sick for July because there's an air corridor. He's like, James, let me go. Yeah. But he couldn't get home. So he had no choice. He had to stay. He had to stay where he was. But no, guys, I think everyone needs a break. And I think, it's important just for everyone's psyche. Then I think create a buzz next year. We've got ISL in October, which will be our priority to start with, and just little goals, get the goals going again. Deal with everyone individually. Don't chase the result. No, I think any coach or any athlete that chases too hard at the start, I think that there's a serious risk of burnout later down the line.
Yeah. Smart. Sure. Makes sense. I wish you luck.
Yeah,
thanks, guys.
And ISL sounds amazing. It's a shame its second year hasn't kind of had the chance that it wanted and that everyone wanted to see. But yeah, fingers crossed going into the next year, and all the best with all you guys. And stay safe, Gibbo. Thank you so much for talking with us today. It's been really interesting.
It's a pleasure, and good luck with all what you're doing. It's great. Keep at it, and we'll follow each other's progress.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, James.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Best of luck.
Bye. Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed hearing from James as much as we enjoyed chatting with him. Make sure you come back next week where we hear from Mark Rose, head coach at Manchester Aquatics.